How you doing?
Hello, hello. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Let's just make sure we got things going. Something. There it goes.
All right, all right. So I heard you had movie night last night, right?
We had movie night last night. Yeah, let's talk
How
a little
was
bit.
it?
I went to see Wicked last night, and it was fantastic.
That's
I
amazing.
I'm a big fan of the musical and the movie version of it. It went well above expectations. So I definitely highly recommend it if you have any liking of Wizard of Oz, let alone um, the Wicked musical. So it was really good how it tied everything together and kind of connected in the Wizard of Oz story as well. So
That's amazing. And obviously, no spoilers. But what do you like it the most? That was the whole compositions, the screening, pictures.
I just liked how they staged it. They kept it very much to a lot of what the musical itself was doing on stage,
Awesome.
but they also made it very realistic, feeling like you were immersed in that world. And I think that's what makes it that much more, and then you have Ariana Grande, in there, and Cynthia Erivo, both of them, amazing singers, not to
Mhm.
mention all the other cast that have a pretty good voice as well. So it was really good to hear the songs, kind of redone a little bit, different in some cases, but still really good. In the first one, they actually had the original cast members in there, so that was cool. But this one was more focused on the end part of the story. But it's a really good story. So I've read the books and everything too. So it's really cool how they connected all the worlds together, of the Oz world. So
That's amazing. So they were very faithful to the book as well.
yeah, in many ways, yeah, they kept to it. There was some slight twist to it, from the original book, but it pretty much fell right in line with everything. So, um, that's why it was such a good book. It could easily connect into it. They weaved it into the actual Wizard of Oz story. So
Hmm.
so what you saw in the movies, with Dorothy and all, that was weaved into it, but not focused on it. You just saw Dorothy, you saw some of the other characters. You learned how the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion became. So that was kind of a good way of backstorying it and all that. So
That's amazing. I watched the first one, and I'm looking
did you?
forward to watch the second
Okay,
one as well.
good. Yeah, well, you're gonna love it then. So, so today we have a good topic, I think. What do you think?
Yes, I love it, and I love the way you set this up. So for the audience that's watching us, this is session two, tell us more about this, Rich. What is session two? What's this about?
So we're remember we're
And
navigating.
what is this session thing all about? There we go.
Yeah, yeah,
Amazing.
we're
Awesome.
navigating the holiday seasons, through our corner conversation. What do we need to do to just make it through all the noise of the holiday season, the craziness of the holiday season? Like we all struggle at different times with it. We all love it, and at other times there's this mix of emotions that we go through. There's the rush of the holiday season, which is another part to add. So there's stress, there's joy, there's all the emotions, and we're just working on how to navigate through all those things. And we're going to do this as a series over the next several weeks, just to kind of help us keep tabs on how to keep through things. In the United States, we're about to go into Thanksgiving next week. Lots of crazy traveling that's going to happen. Um, people people go home basically for Thanksgiving. There's more going home to family on Thanksgiving than probably on Christmas, because it's just a tradition of where everyone sits down and has that special dinner together. So I know, like, we're planning to go to our family, and they have a big thing and everything else, and it's beautiful, it's great, but I know my aunt, she stresses like crazy over it, and that's the part that we sometimes don't realize, that people do a lot just to make that day special, and maybe you're not one of those people that has to do that, but we need to remember that those people that are doing that, they stress a lot about that, and go above and beyond to take care of you and make sure, so we have to thank them, and keep that gratitude going. Um, but today we're our focus is again going to be on family boundaries and the old scripts. Like, what how do we make this better? The old scripts, like, politics and things like that could be very touchy at a table. We don't want to get in those things as much. We really should try to not worry about those things and focus on family. Um, there's there's an importance there of not worrying about whose party you're affiliated with, or what your opinion is on things, or whatever. It's about the love and the feel of the family, and that's where we should be focused throughout the holiday season. And that's what our conversation is going to be about. So today, we're gonna talk about staying focused on yourself, around the people who you knew, who knew the older you. Like, how do you keep to your, if you've gone and you've evolved and you're better now in many ways, how do you keep to yourself, your grounding of yourself, and not fall back into those old ways? Because sometimes when you go with family and you've been doing X for a long while, and now you're at home, you might fall back into some old patterns. How do you keep that grounding there, and how do you keep that feeling strong? And we're going to explore those ideas. Oh, excuse me, my kitty cat decides she's going to play. um, so so today we're going to explore the the family dynamics and the triggers. We're going to explore the boundaries that work, and we're going to explore protecting your peace without guilt, because that's the even bigger part, especially if you're one of the family members that's doing all the work. You need to protect your own peace. You need to figure out how to keep that stress on you from overwhelming you. So we want to talk about that as well. So there's the boundaries, there's the stress levels, there's the family dynamics, which can be very crazy depending on who they are, and it's just working through all that. So what do you
That's
think?
amazing. I love that because, and especially the part of the ode you. And that's very important to understand because during the holiday season, like you mentioned, is that time of the year that sometimes we see people that we haven't seen in a long time, you know,
Hmm.
and maybe a year, a few years, or even a few months, people can change so much in a few months. We can even imagine. So it's very important to understand those changes,
Hmm.
and obviously we all have higher expectations for family, friends, and whatever, during the holiday season. But keep in mind that those people that are going to show up, they might be a different version from what you knew, and
Hmm.
that's totally fine. And the same thing goes for us, like, hey, I'm gonna meet so and so this holiday season, so and so is coming for Thanksgiving, they might have changed from their style to the clothes they wear, their ideologies, and so and so, so I believe that's very important to keep the a good environment and understand all families are diverse, in any
Hmm.
ways, from ideologies, from beliefs, from the way they dress, the kind of music they like. So that's very important to understand as well. Hey, how am I gonna make everyone feel at home? Like,
Hmm.
what kind of music am I gonna play? So hey, if I know that Khalil doesn't like this particular type of music, why am I gonna play it? You know what I mean? Like, all right,
Hmm.
so let's try to meet halfway. It's not about what's right or what's wrong. It's about having empathy, you know?
Yeah. And it's also about you're now you're grown now, and you're an adult, and you've gone through all these changes to make yourself that stronger person, that corporate executive or whatever you might be, and you're trying to just deal with the family members, and now you go home, and sometimes the automatic instinct is to turn back to that 12-year-old again, and you don't want to be that 12-year-old, but
Yeah.
your family starts to treat you in that way because you were the little one that was always around, and
Hmm.
you want to make yourself known to be different, and you want to be heard. So we're going to explore how to protect that type of peace for yourself, so that you're not feeling like you're gone back into your younger years, or you're struggling with things. You want to be as strong as you can, and you want to stay grounded, and that's the really important thing. So.
Yeah, yeah, I love it, and that's a great perspective. And for example, I know around, for example, my aunts and so on. I really didn't had my all of my grandmas and grandpas around, but my aunts, they kind of still see me and kind of treat me as the young Khalil that they
Mhm,
knew, and that's totally fine. So that there should be no. Uh, Grudge and resistance around it. It's perfectly fine. It's the way
mhm,
they used to know me. It's how they connect with me and so on and on. And the same way I know around my family who I can talk about politics, who I can play this way, who I can make jokes, who I cannot make jokes, what kind of jokes can I make, and so on, who I can talk about business with, who it's more into science and tech,
mhm,
and that's totally fine. That's what makes holiday season so amazing is the diversity and the inclusion. Sometimes a new parent, a new family member might bring a guest. How we gonna behave around the guest? How's the guest gonna behave around us?
yep,
And so on and on. And for me, fun fact, this holiday season will be very interesting. I'm gonna tell you guys later on how it worked out. But the thing is, my family from my side, my dad and my mom, they are Brazilians, and my wife is from Argentina, and it's going to be the first time that our parents meet in real person.
oh, wow,
Obviously they have met, through FaceTime and so on, but they never have met in real person. So in this holiday season, during Christmas, we're gonna have a gathering, with all of them kind of in the same place. So it's going to be very
wow.
interesting because Brazilian, Argentinians, and different cultures, different
Language too.
heritage, language. So language going to be a challenge as well. Because sometimes miscommunication might happen.
Yep.
A joke miscommunicated might backfire. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So let's see how it goes. And from the food, hey, what kind of food are we going to serve that kind of serves everyone and everyone enjoys, and this and that. So yeah, let's see what's up. I'm going to tell you guys later how that went.
Yeah, definitely want to hear about that, and plus you're going to have your little ones there too, so that's going to
Yes,
be all another thing
it
to be
will.
dealing with. So
Mhm.
you have a lot of activity going on, and the holidays are going to be somewhat stressful. Now, are both parents staying for the entire holiday season?
Yes, my parents are already here, and my mother-in-law, she's coming next Friday, the 28th,
Okay, okay,
and they're going to stay for the whole holiday season. So
wow,
besides the Christmas Eve, we're going to be doing all sorts of stuff. around that time as well. You know, I
Right,
hope we
right.
all survive. If I don't show up after Christmas, you guys know what happened. Just kidding.
No, no, no. It's all, family is a can be a landmine at times, but
Hmm.
it also, you don't want to necessarily walk on eggshells with your family. You want to kind of
Hmm.
have some grounding with them so that you
Hmm.
don't feel like um you're going to make the wrong mistake. If you're
Yeah.
if you're in that fear mode of making a mistake, you're more likely to make that mistake. So you need to, like, set the ground and just say, hey, look, yeah, we all speak different. We just need to understand that, and give ourselves a bit of grace between it.
Hmm.
Not automatically assuming somebody's saying something wrong to you or something like that.
So,
Like those are things that you want to set some ground rules. It's okay to set ground rules when you're with family and say, hey, let's be conscious about things and not talk about this subject, but let's focus on this, and let's give everyone a room to breathe and have fun and just enjoy, and just it's good to do stuff like that when you're with a big family group, or even a smaller family group. It doesn't matter. It's good to set your boundaries so that everyone can enjoy it, and you don't fall into that pit trap. Because sometimes, like, I remember several times with going with family where we would have one person who would start a topic of politics. Politics would start to grow, religion would start to grow, and it would slowly turn into almost a fight, and not
hmm.
a fight, but like an argument type thing,
Hmm.
um, and then someone leaves upset, and that's not what we want. We want everyone to leave with good thoughts and good memories, and so it's setting those boundaries with the family. And if somebody starts it, like last year, and whenever somebody tried to start a topic like that, we started singing, just to stop the topic, and it was a fun way of
Clever, clever.
changing it. Yeah,
Uh,
it just stopped it. So when somebody starts going down the wrong topic, start singing Jingle Bells or something.
yeah, yeah.
So
And speaking of that, a great book, a great read to do, to prep up for holiday season is Nonviolent Communication. So it's this great
mm,
book, it's basically a framework around, how to communicate and how to kind of, if someone is misbehaving and if someone is doing something that you believe it's wrong or it's not appropriate for the time, how to communicate with that people, so it's a great framework to understand. And yeah, that's very interesting, Rich. And obviously, those embarrassed moments they will show up. That's one thing. And for example, that's my dad. Like, hey, my wife, she's still knowing how to handle and be around my dad because. He is the kind of like he tells those jokes that
mm,
sometimes it's like, what are you talking, like, those old jokes that they're not really funny, but he thinks if it's funny, and people kind of, all right, yeah, so that's my dad on the table, for example.
so what are some boundaries that actually worked during the holidays for you?
In general, uh, I believe first of all, me and my wife, we always think about the kind of environment that we're going in, so that's the first boundary. All right, so what do we like? All right, so we like this, we like small gatherings. So all right, so that's the first boundaries. Let's not go back into crowded places or stuff like that. Uh and and the second boundary is the people that we want to hang around with, and family members a little bit complicated because they always invite themselves in, so you cannot kind of gatekeep them out. So that's another boundary that we kind of sat around. It's like, all right, well, what kind of conversations are we gonna have? Are we
Hmm.
gonna talk about politics? But so on and on. has a different ideology. So so all right, so no politics, and this and that. So those are I believe those are the main boundaries that we kind of set. How about you, Rich?
Yeah, I think it's you want to set simple and clear expectations for yourself and for those around you. So it's I can only stay 2 hours. That's a good boundary to start setting, because you go and sometimes family loves to hang out, and that's okay if that's what you want. But if
Mm-hmm.
you don't want that, then set a boundary and say, look, I got a couple things I need to do. I'm going to leave in 2 hours or 3 hours,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you feel is the right thing. But just set that boundary, or at least have it in your head that I'm going to leave at this point, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also deciding what conversations you're not going to get into. So you like if you hear that topic, you either walk away, or you change the subject by singing or something like that. But you don't want to let that conversation go there. So try to figure out what those are ahead of time, so that you don't fall into those traps. Boundaries don't have to be dramatic, they just need to be consistent. So setting them up right is the best way, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with setting boundaries. Guilt can easily come in there, but there is nothing to feel guilty about. It's an obligation to keep the family happy and to enjoy what is truly the holiday season, which is being together and the gift of family.
Yes, and that's and I love the deadline boundary, because our friends, already know, like, hey, we're early birds, and we go, we're the first ones to show up and the first ones to kind of leave, because there are a few friends there, like they go on and on,
Oh yeah.
So whenever even if so it gets more trickier, because if you're hosting it, like, hey, you got to put up with that, with that person, that never leaves, and so on and on. So it's very important, that's a great one, so if you're hosting the holiday season, it's very good to kind of set those boundaries, say like, hey, you know dinner or lunch or whatever, starts at noon and ends up at
Yeah.
3 p.m., like,
Yeah, yeah.
hey.
Setting the time for your own party is okay. Like, hey,
Yeah.
it's no different than if you were at a venue of some sort and you had a limited time. You have to get out by that
Yeah.
point. So you can set that boundary at home too and say, look, at this point we're going to shut things down because I need my rest. I have to work next day or whatever the case may be. I go to sleep early. There's all those reasons. So you want to take care of yourself as well. If you are open to having those times, it's okay, but just set it so that it works for you.
And an interesting question for you, Rich. I don't know if you ever stumble on that kind of situation, but that's always that, either family member or a guest that kind of, drinks a bit too much, and, starts being the, the star of the show, if you know what I mean, how to deal with that kind of people.
Well, I mean, it is a little hard when someone's doing stuff like that. Best thing is to try to navigate that before it happens by maybe getting them to drink some water instead of the drink, or something else. Trying to just slow down that process. um it's kind of hard if everyone's doing something, but there is ways to kind of redirect and change the subject type thing. So it's noticing that pattern early before it gets that far. That's your main thing, because once it gets to a certain point, there's not a lot you can do other than maybe put them in an Uber and send them home.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's another thing, like, hey guys, if you're gonna drink a glass of wine or whatever, please don't drink and drive.
Oh yeah.
Like, go with a Uber, or ride with a sober friend,
Yeah.
or get a cab or do a sleepover,
Yeah.
depending if you're going to a family house, maybe ask like, hey, can I crash here and I
Mhm.
go home in the morning or whatever. But please, 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 guys, don't drink and drive during the holiday season. That's very important.
And it's okay to have fun and drink, but
Yeah.
it's also remembering to keep that moderation so that you're not becoming a burden to anyone around you. You want your family to respect you and be happy that you're there and not be dreading, oh, this person's going to be doing that again, and they'll be
Hmm.
doing all sorts of crazy stuff in the house because they get drunk. Like we don't
Hmm.
want that type of thing, and I don't think that person who's doing it really wants that, but they want it's easy to slip that way. So try to figure out ways to have your family there to say, hey, slow down, or here's a bottle of water, or things like that to kind of make it less likely to happen. It's easier said than done, I will say that, but it is something that if with practice and persistency, you can start to change some of that. So and then
Amazing.
remember to take breaks and step out, go to the bathroom, go out and get a breath of fresh air. It's
Yeah.
okay. Have a buddy system that you guys can kind of pull each other aside. That's same thing with the person who drinks. They can have a buddy system and say, hey, just let me know if I'm getting too far. Like that's
Mhm.
okay to do. Your friends can be there to help you.
Do you have a secret communication, Rich? That you have like a secret code word or something like that?
No, never had to get into that. It's usually the eye look, I guess it would be the only thing. So it's kind of like, okay, you ready, that's probably as close as I get to a secret communication.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on if the other person is having a lot of fun talking or what. So when you're with family, it's hard because you want to be with them too. So, um, but also you have to remember to your host side that they also want you to probably go home because they're tired. I know, the host that takes care of us, she's up, probably 3 o'clock in the morning, like, so by the time it's 8 o'clock at night, she's pretty tired.
Definitely, definitely, amazing. And what kind of message does the audience has any questions? Any fun fact that you guys want to state about the holiday season and around this topic? So
Yeah.
please feel free to drop a comment or a message that we're gonna check it out.
Yeah, definitely,
And
definitely let us know. And you know, remember not to let the family make you feel guilty. There are some family members that love to use guilt, and yes, it happens, and yes, it's gonna continue probably to happen because that's their personality. But remember, if you're setting the right boundaries for yourself, and this is how you are keeping your sanity, it's okay. You need to put yourself a little bit more on that front side versus letting the family member take you down the wrong path. Um, Guilt is a powerful thing. Don't let it pull you out of the holiday spirit. I think that's what a lot of people dread is like going home and the guilt that people will put on them. Why haven't you called me all year? What I don't talk to you ever. Like there's all those little things that happen.
yeah,
And then it starts to eat at you, and but is should that be because they could call you too. It's no different. So when you really start thinking about like there is no real rhyme or reason. A lot of times it's more that they just are pushing that button. Don't let them push the button.
love that, love that. And there's always that embarrassing question or embarrassing statement. And keep in mind, obviously, there's a lot of psychology involved in that. So there's no way to have you figure it out. But normally, those kind of statements, they tell more about the person than tells about you. Maybe
Mhm.
it's an insecurity, or maybe that person is going through a hard time, or maybe she's, going through something, and she's kind of, kind of not dealing well with that thing, and she kind of, spits it out. And
Mhm.
sometimes we are the victim, we are the target. So like, hey, just chill, just, just show some appreciation. And if is the right thing to do, just walk out, like, hey, I'm gonna grab some water, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, or so on, and just avoid any kind of conflict.
Mhm.
I believe that's the best way to do with those kind of situations. And
Yeah.
please never feel guilty, never take that thing personally, because sometimes when we really dive deep into it, we see like, hey, yeah, that person was going through this and that, or it was some insecurity, or so on
Yeah.
and on.
Yeah. Exactly. And remember, it's okay to change things by mixing old traditions and new. That that people may not think is something good, but they can be. It's okay to change some of those traditions into something new, because sometimes those old traditions don't work. But if you have ones that you love, then make sure they're still mixed in. Keep you don't have to get rid of everything, but
Yeah.
try to, if there's something that always triggers a fight or an argument, or whatever, like the cutting of the turkey or something like that, try to change it up.
Yeah.
Maybe you bring the turkey out already cut, or maybe I'll make sure that there is already a designated person well ahead of time, or something like that. There's a lot of different ways of going about it. It's just changing some of those traditions so that you're not in that bad spot, but you can still have the ones you love the most, and take care of yourself that way. So I guess the main thing that we're looking at is allow yourself to evolve. You don't have to shrink to fit an old version of yourself. Um, even around family, you're allowed to show up as the person you are today or becoming, not as that 12-year-old. You don't have to be that 12-year-old anymore. You have grown up, you've learned, you have a whole new perspective on life. It's okay to keep that perspective and share that with your family, because in the end, it's all about building that family part, not about the all the other stuff. It's about the connection of the family. And we love each other. We want to be with each other for that reason. Let's enjoy that moment, because as we all know, life is short. Family members will pass. I know I've lost a lot of family members during the holiday season, but it's precious to take those times and get the most out of it.
Definitely. And if you guys want to talk about this, if you guys want to chat, share your experience, and meet new people, if maybe you live in a place that you don't have any gatherings, or you don't have any family around, like, hey, we are here. Feel free to reach us out to talk it out, and it's amazing. And
Mhm,
that's why we also have Kornerz social network. That's a place where we find real people and genuine conversations. The
mhm,
app is available for iOS only. I just dropped our landing page, our website, so you guys can check it out, more information about it. Find the link to download the app, and find your corner, and join the Nook with us. And by the way, that's where we're gonna continue the conversation on. Uh, yeah, and what's the best message that you would love to live based on this session, Rich?
I think the best message is be yourself, love your family, and it's okay to set the
Amazing.
boundaries. I think that's the biggest part. Set the boundaries so that you're not going down that path of frustration, or whatever the issues might be. Try to make the most of the holiday season. It's
Mhm.
hard for a lot of people. Some people dread it. But if you set the boundaries, it might not be so dreadful. You might be able to actually enjoy it and have a good holiday season. So
Amazing.
So, yeah.
Awesome. So everyone, hope you guys enjoyed this session. We're gonna keep the conversation going on Corner's social network. So make sure to jump, and meet us on Corners. We're gonna be live on the Lounge Nook. And for those that are not familiar with Corners experience, the nooks, they are literally video chat rooms, so it's a bit different from this live stream, where we are talking and you guys are listening. Over there, everyone's going to jump into the live chat, and we're going to have like a video conversation with people from
Exactly.
all over the globe. So see you guys there.
And just as an FYI, next Thursday is Thanksgiving, so we will not be doing our show. Cleo may come on and do something at some point during that day, but at this point, there's nothing scheduled for next Thursday. But we will be doing 8 o'clock on Monday, so please join us on Monday at 8 o'clock, and then after Thanksgiving, we'll get back onto a regular schedule again. So thank you, everyone. We really appreciate your time today, and love having you here. And we hope to see you over on the Corners Conversation in the lounge. So take care, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. See you guys. Bye bye.
Bye.